This is what killed Destiny for me and how I learned to love it again. Okay, let's see here.
Mac here, and I'm really, really tired. Not upset or angry or anything like that, just tired. I'm tired because the noise surrounding Destiny is getting so exhausting to deal with and makes me enjoy being around the game so much less than I used to. And I know there has to be tons of you in the same boat. But
I'm sorry. The sad music, I shouldn't be laughing. The sad music is sending me so much. I'm tired, boss. That's what chat. The sad music and the tone is like, this is like the saddest moment ever. Like, it's just like, he's like, man, everyone's so negative around Destiny, man. I'm tired, man. To be fair, I know where he's coming from. I know what this video is about to be about. He's tired of like all the overt negativity towards the game. But man, the sad tone, the sad music, the sighing, the the sad the sad voiceover, everything. It's like it's very dramatic given the circumstances, right? We're just talking about people who are criticizing Destiny a lot.
was once excitement and anticipation for upcoming content releases, trailers, and expansions has become uncircumstantial pessimism and rage, no matter the topic. Every new gun, system change, destination, raid, subclass, balancing patch, campaign, livestream, blog post, and tweet is met with a speakerphone wielding crowd chanting garbage, trash.
I'm not. I mean, he sounds like he's about to cry. I feel like I'm almost feeling bad. Like he sounds really fucking upset by this.
Recycled, slop, cash grab, and on and on and on and on. Those who still enjoy the game have gone quiet to enjoy it away from the angry mob that ridicules them as shills and
The tiny violin starts playing. Oh no.
glazers for any positive reception or appreciation of their favorite hobby. Those offering genuinely valid, reasonable, and constructive criticisms have gotten completely drowned out and overshadowed by their louder and angrier counterparts. And those who claim to hate the game so much continue to remain in its orbit as they trash and ridicule it in every waking moment of their life. Thing is, I understand how much goodwill and good faith has been burned.
All right, let's start from the beginning here, okay? So what he's phrasing this as is there's a group of people in Destiny 2, a large group, a mob really, and we are over criticizing the game. Every little thing that's brought in, you know, a new exotic weapon, a subclass, a destination, it's just met with overtly negative criticism is what he's saying, which is okay if you want to frame it in that light. That's fine if that's his perspective of it. I do think there is a counter perspective, which is that people are justly criticizing things because they're comparing it to previous iterations that Bungie has delivered. Now, we haven't actually gotten our hands on the content in Edge of Fate, so I think that giving a full criticism early is a bit unjustified. But, you know, when you get shown a preview of a trailer or an example of what it's going to look like, and people are like, that doesn't look interesting to me, that's not unfair criticism. Or if they say, like, this is trash or this is garbage, they're just saying, like, you guys aren't being creative enough. You guys aren't being innovative enough. You guys aren't pushing the boundaries. You know, we were kind of expecting more from you guys as a company, especially in this 11th year of development of this game. I know a lot of content creators, they're getting tired of the negativity. Sometimes I get a little bit exhausted with it too, with just a lot of negativity, but it does come from a place of us actually wanting the game to be better. We want Bungie to listen. And unfortunately, right now, it's just a lot of negativity and not a whole lot of listening from what it seems like.
Earned by Bungie due to past lackluster deliveries, layoffs, scandals, and feedback fallen on deaf ears. Players have good reason to feel spurned and let down, good reason to feel betrayed, good reason to be upset, and even good reason to leave. But for those of us who choose to stay, should these wounds make us incapable of feeling any joy towards any facet of the game ever again? Are we so hurt that we are now unable to judge things on their own merits and only on the merits of their failed predecessors? And if so, then what is it that can genuinely, honestly, and truly fix this sense of betrayal and animosity that prohibits us from this joy.
Some good content. I save you the whole discussion here. Some good content is what will save us. All right. Over delivery is what will save us. All right. Investing more in this amazing project that earned Bungie $3.6 billion. That's what will save us, right? Taking the money that they earned from this project, investing it into Marathon, other incubation projects, while letting this one dwindle was a huge overstep. And it's going to cause Marathon to probably flop. I mean, let's be real. And likely it's causing a part of the reason why there's a big downturn in Destiny 2. So that's what will save it. What will save it is over delivery. What will save it is doing more and adding more to this game and making the game better. Giving us less and charging the same price is not what will save it. And that's what gets people even more outraged. That's where this comes from. It's not from a place of just overt negativity. It comes from reason, from logic.
And if the answer is somewhere between something that is so far out of reach that it would be impossible to do and absolutely nothing at all, then why even stick around? For a Hail Mary prayer that things will turn around? To have a punching bag to release our anger into? Or is it to scream at other people still trying to enjoy themselves out of jealousy that they feel the joy that we once had but can't seem to find again? I want to be explicitly clear here. I am not telling you that you should not give critical and negative feedback. Genuine, constructive, and actionable feedback is necessary for a quality game, and muting that voice does no one any good. I'm not telling you that Bungie deserves your trust, your forgiveness, or your money. They have had second chances, third chances, fourth chances, and more. And even so, no game, company, or product deserves anything from you anyway. I'm not telling you that you need to enjoy the game, or that you are wrong for not enjoying it. It may very well be the case that, like many things in life, your time with Destiny is over. And if it's simply not bringing you joy anymore, then I would not dare fault you for stepping away to find something that does.
So he brings up an interesting point, which he's not trying to silence people that are giving fair criticism and stuff like that. It's an interesting element in social media where when people see a trailer or something, people aren't necessarily going to give you this like lengthy, thesis about why the Edge of Fate is not meeting its, their standard, right? They're just going to say game bad or garbage, or like you said, there's little like those words that they throw out there, just a random, shit game or dead game or something, right? DOA, right? These are all terms that just get thrown out. And even though it's not very good, like a critical analysis or anything like that, it does give sort of an analysis of the optics, right? It gives you that most things are judged within a few seconds, right? Like you could look at a new game right now. I can show you a new game of any kind that it's coming out 2025, 2026. And within like 10 seconds, you'll be able to make your like judgment on whether or not you'll buy that. You don't need to do a critical, 10-page thesis on why you will not purchase said game in 2026. It's just you get that sort of knee-jerk reaction. And this thing happens, and this happens in Destiny 2. So many people have been influenced by this game. So many people have played this game at one stage or another that you can show them a trailer for something new, and they're just like, so you're telling me we're going to the edge of the universe or the edge of the solar system, right? And when we get there, we're fighting the Fallen again. Interesting, right? Like we're leaving all this stuff behind to just fight the same enemies that we fought before. It's a little, you know what I'm saying? You could give some feedback or you could give a detailed reason why they're different. They got the jetpacks and they got this and they got that, and that's fine. But that is some valid criticism where people are gonna be like, doesn't really get you super hyped up and excited after fighting the Fallen for 11 years, right? That feedback can just be expressed as just one word comment, just saying garbage, right? And that garbage comment gets 1,500 likes on Twitter. And it just represents the sentiment where people are just like, yeah, the same recycled shit again, I think that time and time again, Bungie hears this feedback and it just falls on their deaf ears and they just continue to push forward. But eventually it catches up with them. And that's kind of where we're at with the population of Destiny 2 kind of dwindling a little bit. And that's where we're at when it comes to the general like mood and the general temperature of the game.
But to those who have chosen to stay, who have decided that their time with Destiny is not yet done, we need to make a change. A change in the way we heal from past grievances. A change in the way we expect and brace for disappointment by denying ourselves the possibility of excitement. A change in the way we approach what is ultimately a hobby whose sole purpose and objective is to have fun, and most importantly, a change in the way we treat and speak to each other around this said hobby. To explain what I mean by all of this, allow me to go back to a time when I was unfortunately part of this problem. It's 2022, and the Witch Queen expansion has just released, and all things considered, it's a pretty fun time to play Destiny. The story is the best it's ever been, the crafting system is a dream come true, Subclass 3.0 is a beacon of hope for what is to come to the build crafting space, and all of my friends and clannies are online playing the game with me, along with some of the highest player counts the overall game has ever seen. With the Season of Defiance dropping alongside it being quite decent from a narrative and gameplay perspective, it finally feels like Bungie has figured out the seasonal cadence, and the era of Destiny dry spells is over. All of the faith and patience and trust that I had in Bungie had finally paid off, and here I was at the doorstep of Destiny's proverbial Avalon, ready to embrace what I believed would come to be known as the glory days of Destiny. It was also at this time that, most importantly, my frustrations and grievances with Beyond Light's content vaulting a year prior began to wither away significantly, as having what seemed to be a new and ambitious Bungie regularly producing innovative and fresh content acted as a sort of antidote to cure the wound left behind. This attitude and excitement stuck with me into the release of the next update, the Season of the Haunted, where despite some great additions like Solar's 3.0 transformation, I couldn't help but find myself feeling slightly betrayed by the primary content piece of the update, the Leviathan. That is because a year prior, with the release of Beyond Light, a gigantic chunk of the game was removed for a myriad of reasons provided by Bungie and was dubbed the aforementioned content vaulting, thus causing an extremely understandable negative reaction from the entirety of the player base, myself included. Ultimately, however, as we made our way through the year of Beyond Light, Witch Queen's launch, and Witch Queen's inaugural season, my gripes with the content vaulting that took place a year ago were diminished significantly. Or at least they were, until I logged in to see the Leviathan, something that I had paid for previously that was taken away from me, used as the main draw for a brand new season. And I didn't care that it was technically accessible for free. It wasn't even really about the money. It was the idea that Bungie told me a year ago that they could not keep this zone in the game, yet a year later, here it is once again, transformed from a beautifully complex and mechanical endgame raid experience into what I considered at the time to be an abomination of its former self as a public event patrol zone. It felt like a slap in the face towards the Leviathan and a slap in the face towards me. And whilst I didn't fully realize it at the time, I was bitter. It didn't help either that at the time, a lot of my friends started to slowly dwindle off from playing the game once again. The seasonal dry spell of Destiny that I had long thought to be gone was hovering over me close. Begrudgingly, I tried to let it all go and enjoy the things about the season that I did like, namely Solar 3.0, but I can't lie. I was very upset about the recycled content that was removed from the game and being marketed back to me a year later in what I considered to be an inferior form. But time passed, as it does, and we arrived to the Season of Plunge.
I think you had a good point there. People can become very jaded to Bungie based on their decisions. They obviously make some pretty bizarre decisions in regards to the sunsetting was the worst decision ever. Out of all 11 years, everyone can unanimously agree sunsetting was the worst. And then, yeah, and bringing back Season of the Haunted and Leviathan was a pretty rough decision.
Arc 3.0 and Catch Crash were great, and with King's Fall being reprised for free, there were a lot of things to be excited about. But as the luster of these new additions began to fade away, I was left to look at what else the season had to offer, and I was livid at what I had found. About 2 or 3 weeks into the season, we had been given access to new pirate hideouts, which were activities that sent us through small zones to do some light combat and recover an artifact. Problem being that these small zones were simply just pre-existing lost sectors. Not just any lost sectors, though. Lost sectors that were previously removed from the game due to content vaulting. Lost sectors that I had paid for, that were reskinned and reused for this seasonal content a year and a half later. And what's worse is that this time, the content these reskinned lost sectors were used for was not free. It was paid content, which had me, as a player, sitting there at my screen thinking to myself, so Bungie sold me these lost sectors and then removed them from the game and then put snow on them and then sold them to me again. Now, to be genuine, in isolation, this problem would have likely been a mild frustration and nothing more. But considering
It's not based, dude. This is the based opinion. We agree with this. What happened? Now what happened? What happened to this?
the Leviathan reskin from the previous season, my lack of enjoyment from the seasonal stories, and my friends departing the game one by one, this retrospectively inconsequential issue ended up being the match that absolutely lit my fuse. From this point forward, I simply couldn't look at seasonal updates for Destiny the same. I was jaded, but at least I still had expansions to look forward to, as those were always reliably large content drops with fun, fresh, and engaging new content, and Lightfall was right on our doorstep. We were finally about to fight the Witness, one of the most unique characters we have ever seen in Destiny that was revealed to us a year prior at the end of the Witch Queen as being bad guy number 1. The trailers were amazing, a new subclass was arriving, the destination looked beautiful, and my annual month of guaranteed Destiny enjoyment was on the horizon. And then, well, we all know what happened. To put it simply, I was a combination of pissed and empty. The one annual Destiny update that had always been reliably good for me was by a community-wide census, a travesty. I found myself looking back to how starry-eyed I was at the release of Witch Queen, reliving the year of letdowns and disappointment to try and understand where, when, and how it all came crumbling down. There was nothing left to salvage of my love for Destiny. The game became unrecognizable, and along with it, so did my attitude towards the game. Every trailer, announcement, and update was met by me with unwavering skepticism and even sometimes pessimism. To me, anyone who was still enjoying the game was a fool, hypnotized by Bungie into forking over their money, complacently funding mediocrity that, in my eyes, would prevent the game from ever becoming good again. I was angry at Destiny for not bringing me the joy it once did. I was angry at Bungie for betraying me with faulting and reskins and recycling and false promises, and I was angry at those still enjoying Destiny for what I saw as being okay with all of that happening. My emotion towards the Lightfall seasons was what you'd expect. Smoothie of apathy, agitation, and anger, with the smallest of inconveniences becoming my focus of the overall game until the next opportunity to hate on Destiny presented itself. I stuck around to continue to make content for the game, but my passion to play just wasn't there anymore. But then, something changed. At the beginning of August of 2023, just a few weeks before the third season of Lightfall was set to launch, I got on a plane to Orlando, Florida to head to GCX for my very first time. A convention primarily for Destiny players and the Destiny community, where thousands of players, creators, and even some Destiny devs gather together to enjoy the convention. Friends made through LFGs and raids meet in person for the first time, players of the game get to meet some of the minds that create the game itself, Destiny clans meet up for some LAN
This was a plot twist I was not expecting.
gaming or to go and rip some putt-putt together, and creators have the privilege of meeting all of the members of their community that support them and their content. I myself was expecting that maybe a handful of people might recognize me and that a few other creators might even know who I was, but that's not what happened at all. Instead, I had walked away from the convention having chatted with, taken pictures with, and had the privilege of hanging out with hundreds of incredible members of the Destiny community that through every single interaction showed me how much joy, excitement, and appreciation people still feel for this game that I fell in love with 10 years ago. From interactions with players to creators and artists to devs, I got to have 3 full days of uninterrupted and unregulated Destiny-adjacent joy, and it reminded me how much I missed it all. It reminded me how much I missed being excited for the next expansion. It reminded me how much joy I felt experiencing a new activity for the first time. It reminded me how real the friendships and relationships that we make through an online video game can truly be. And most importantly, it reminded that there was still joy to be had when it came to Destiny. I just had to be the one to want to have it Interacting with all of these people that still had so much admiration for Destiny, despite me personally experiencing nothing but a year and a half of pain, essentially forced me to reflect back on that past year and a half of my.
Well, I think the realization you would come to from that is that the Destiny 2 community is absolutely goated. There's a bunch of great people there. People in general are, when they come together for any sort of liked interest, we're all going to get along. You know what I'm saying? We all like the same thing, whether we're talking about Destiny 2 or any other game or any other hobby for that matter. We all have a similar interest. I don't think that necessarily minimizes the criticisms of Lightfall and all those previous seasons. Just as you stated before, all those arguments were perfectly valid.
Misery, and realize that in every instance of my rage and disappointment, it was because I had decided to focus exclusively on whatever caused that misery while completely and intentionally ignoring all of the things that I could have enjoyed instead. Instead of having fun with Solar 3.0 and the reprised weapons that I did truly love in the Season of the Haunted, I made the, albeit subconscious, yet active decision to hone all of my energy and emotion into being angry about the return of the Leviathan. In the Season of the Plunder, I made the choice to put all of my energy towards being angry about reskinned Lost Sectors instead of the things that I really did enjoy, like Arc 3.0 and King's Fall. And in Lightfall, instead of being happy about things like Strand, I had the objective of being angry about everything else.
Now, this is the part that I find interesting is that I feel like we're kind of doing this like teeter-tottering where we're going from one extreme to the other. Like we either extremely hate the game or, I think what he's trying to do is come back around to like just loving the game for what it is and loving the parts of the game that you can love. And so it's kind of like one extreme or the other. You either fully fucking hate this game, hate Bungie, fire everyone, that overt negativity, or you're like on the other side where you're like, hey, this is good. Hey, that's good. Let's enjoy this. Let's have fun. Just enjoy the things that there are to enjoy, which there's nothing wrong with that by any means. But those two maybe extremes, I would call them, aren't helpful to each other. You can exist in the middle, right? You can exist where you still have fun playing Destiny and you still enjoy the community, for example, like he mentions in GCX, and still give honest criticism about the game, which can be perceived as overtly negative by just saying, insert something as garbage. Like there's nothing wrong with finding some place in the middle where you don't have to be on one extreme or the other, in my opinion.
Please let me be crystal clear. This is not to say that these seasons and DLCs were good or that they were quality products compared to the rest of Destiny's offerings. And this is also not to say that these updates and DLCs should be received positively by actively ignoring all of the areas in which they fell short. Things that fall flat and miss the mark should be identified and constructively criticized. That is an essential part of the process. What I did realize, however, is that by only being willing to focus on the things that were bad, I created a habit that prohibited me from being able to recognize and enjoy the things that were good. I walked into seasons and DLCs with the goal of finding the thing that made me angry, searching for the thing that let me down, and digging for the thing that validated my pre-constructed disappointment. My objective was to be upset. And not only is that no way to play Destiny or any video game, it's no way to live any part of life. Upon my return from GCX, wielding my newfound realization, I wanted to do a bit of an experiment with the upcoming season of The Witch and intentionally search for and focus on all of the positive things that arrived with it. That's not to say that I was planning on willfully ignoring the areas that I did not enjoy about the season. As I said before, omitting constructive criticisms is not good for anyone. I just wasn't going to let my emotionally driven brain subconsciously fixate on them exclusively as I had let it do in the past. And to my surprise, it ended up being one of the most enjoyable periods of Destiny I had experienced in a very, very, very long time. Not because it was an objectively incredible season, I think most players would rate it somewhere in the middle of the pack, but because I was able to experience it unshackled from my corrosive mindset that guaranteed that I would not be able to acknowledge anything that I enjoyed. What followed in the Season of the Wish was the next level of this, where I found myself deeply immersed in the Coil seasonal activity every single day, playing with viewers for my Twitch stream and testing out viewer builds for my Will It Build series. Sure, it was a long season with plenty of dry periods and not enough content to fill them all, but my focus was no longer seeking that which starved me, but rather that which kept me fed. The following update, Into the Light, proved to be one of the most enjoyable gaming experiences I have ever had in my entire life. Ranking up there with other gaming memories like all-nighter sleepovers at friends' houses in middle school, playing Modern Warfare 2 and Halo 3. Yes, this update in and of itself was just very good, with a wave-based pseudo-horde mode and Onslaught, and my personal favorite activity of all time in Pantheon, but still, this new mindset...
Pantheon was goated. I love Pantheon, which is also why to play the devil's advocate here, which is also why there was such heavy criticism from myself and the community in regards to Ride of the Nine. Bungie delivered such an excellent event with Pantheon that we were kind of expecting, you know, Pantheon 2.0, but with dungeons, and missed the mark horribly by comparison. I don't need to go through and reiterate all those points, but I think that's another point where I would say, like, this is a point where we can be very critical of Bungie and be like, Ride of the Nine was terrible in comparison to Pantheon. It doesn't have to ruin your day. It doesn't have to be overtly negative. It doesn't have to ruin your whole Destiny experience. It's okay to say that and then just continue to move on and continue to play the game. I'm still going to play Edge of Fate, but I want to be very clear that Ride of the Nine missed the mark, especially Pantheon was incredible. Pantheon, dude, I can't wait for the second iteration of Pantheon. I thought that the Ride of the Nine was going to be of a similar note. I don't think it was anywhere near it, though.
I was playing the game with was a massive contributing factor to my enjoyment. If you took the old me and dropped him in this exact same situation, he probably would have been focused on how BS it was that the weapons were recycled and how the brand new Pantheon mode was just a rehash of old content, denying himself any fun that could have been had. But this time, I got out of my own way. I afforded myself the right to feel whatever it was that I was going to feel, good or bad. I didn't walk into anything with any predetermined mindset or emotions. I just let things be what they were going to be. Final Shape was the same story. One of my favorite campaign experiences, favorite times making videos, favorite times farming missions with friends, and favorite times running a day one raid where it felt like I went to World War III with 5 of my brothers and came out victorious on the other end after 34 hours of street struggle. But then came episodes, and sadly, there just weren't any significant long-term positives for me to find. And believe me, it wasn't for a lack of searching. I was determined to continue applying my new mindset for the game and trying to find and focus on the things that did bring me joy. But the episodes just weren't my cup of tea. But they would be the thing to teach me my next lesson, which was, that's okay. It's okay if something isn't hitting the mark. It's okay if something isn't piquing your interest. And it's okay if something isn't fun. But where the old Mac would have slogged through these episodes week by week to find all of the problems so he could scream from the mountaintops about all of the reasons that they suck, the new Mac just left. I found something else to bring me joy. I tried other activities, I tried other games, and I tried other hobbies. In that process, I found Warframe, which I have enjoyed very much. I found a workout routine in the gym that has me feeling and looking the best I ever have. And maybe most importantly,
He found balance. Let's go. We went from one extreme to the other extreme. Now we got the balance, dude. That's good. It's come full circle.
I found a deeper appreciation for the times that the game is indeed bringing me joy, making sure that I never take those times for granted and absolutely never deny myself the joy that those times bring in favor of finding everything wrong muddled in the mix. I learned that it's okay to give my feedback and then walk away, that the game will be there waiting for me if and when I ever decide to return.
And then the next part of that, the other side of that, it's okay for other people to give their feedback and not walk away. You know, other people will give their overtly negative feedback and you have to read it. You have to engage with it. If you're going to be a content creator, you have to not let it affect you. You have to just let it roll off the shoulders, you know? because it's never going to go away, not just for Destiny 2, but for anything, right? Like it's just I said denial, anger, bargaining, then acceptance. Someone said in chat. That's funny.
And I did for episode Heresy, a
The
time where
five stages of grief in the chat is too funny to me.
there were lots of positives for me to enjoy and focus on, and a time where I could again have fun with Destiny. And that brings us to today, on the horizon of the next saga of Destiny 2 with the Edge of Fate. Truth is, no one really knows how this expansion will be. Not me, not you, and not even Bungie. We can make educated guesses based on what we have seen, what those who have played it have said, what Bungie has said, but no one truly knows. I do guarantee you this, though. If you walk into the expansion with the objective of disliking it, with the goal of finding every single thing that pisses you off, with the goal of validating all of your pre-existing grievances towards Bungie, and with the goal of convincing yourself that this game was bad, is bad, and will continue to be bad, then you will absolutely succeed. But if you walk into the expansion without those predetermined emotions, walk into the expansion neutrally, affording yourself the right to feel whatever way you feel, then you will likely find things that you like and things that you don't like. Not because you decided ahead of time that you like or dislike them, but because that is simply how they resonated with you. Now, it is entirely possible that for some of you, you'll dislike everything. Others, hopefully, may enjoy everything. But I think for most, you'll be somewhere in the middle. Certain things will remind you of when you used to pull all-nighters gaming as a kid, and others will let you down the same way that many things in past expansions have as well. That is the category that 99% of us will end up in if we don't jump the gun and make up our mind ahead of time. And at that point, it's up to you to choose which of those things you want to focus on, which ones you want to let define the game for you, and which ones you want to let dominate the emotion you feel towards Destiny. You can choose to be like past me and search for those things that make you upset. It will probably even feel good in the moment, give you a sense of vindication, and will allow Destiny and its community to serve as a punching bag for any and all negative emotion that you might be harboring, game-related or otherwise. Some of it may even be warranted. I won't deny that. But it's a ravenous cycle that only leads to misery and perpetuity. The other option is to search for the things that make you happy. And I can't lie to you, this road is much more difficult and requires a lot more discipline. To the elements of the game that you do feel negatively towards, you'll be forced to think critically and be honest in your thoughts instead of allowing yourself to be enslaved to your emotional impulses by unleashing cathartic outbursts. Your negative feedback will need to take the form of constructive criticism instead of being turned into fuel to hate on the people that are still enjoying the game or the devs who are just doing their best to do a good job. You'll need to let bygones be bygones and judge the content on its own merits rather than let past grievances muddy the water. And believe me, I know a lot of these things sound like they benefit every party other than you. Benefit Bungie with forgiveness for past grievances, benefit me for having another viewer that enjoys the game and will watch videos about it, and benefit other members of the Destiny community for having a more pleasant person to engage and interact with. But what I learned is that this new mindset truly does benefit the wielder most of all, giving you agency over what your Destiny experience will be. And not to be too serious, but if I am being honest, it'll give you agency over what your life experience will be. One of my favorite quotes that I just haven't been able to get out of my head throughout the
Damn, I clicked on a Destiny video and I got some life coach advice. This is crazy to me. I like this. I was not expecting this.
this entire journey is that no man is truly free who is not a master of himself. Now, I'm not trying to act like I'm better than anyone or that I achieved some sort of enlightenment, because that's not the case at all. God knows how often I stumble and fall short, especially in the regard I'm talking about even right now. But I would be kicking myself for who knows how long if I didn't have the balls to get on my platform that you all have helped me build and try to use it for something that I genuinely and truly believe in and care about. I also know that a lot of this might sound way too serious of an approach to take for a video game. But at the end of the day, is it all really just about a video game? This is something that has been so important in all of our lives for many, many years. At the very least, important enough for you to make it this far into a video about enjoying it again. Yeah, it's just a game at the surface, but When you dig a little deeper, it's something that has the ability to bring us excitement, memories, and joy, or pessimism, nightmares, and disappointment. And if there is anything we can do to sway that needle to the more pleasant sound inside, then that sounds well worth it. We as people deserve to be happy, and sometimes we just need to get out of our own way and afford ourselves the privilege of enjoying the things that can bring about that happiness. So to those who want to be here to try their best to enjoy this game for what it is, to enjoy time with friends, to make memories, and to have a good time, I appreciate you more than you could ever know. You are the reason I am still here and still making videos. I see your comments, I see the fun you're having, and I see the joy that you hold towards this hobby that unites all of us. Unites us through this video that you're watching and many more that you might engage in before and after. Unites us through online forums like Twitter and comment sections where we have the opportunity to partake in enjoyable dialogue with each other over a hobby that we share, and unites us in Twitch streams where we can share in live exciting moments and grow communities that promote these very values and ideas. And most importantly, unites us in the friendships that we make along the way. At the end of the day, though, maybe this is all just wishful thinking, that I could be naive and childish enough to think that some starry-eyed yapping could solve so much anger and sorrow and betrayal and vitriol. But then again, would never know if I didn't try. If we didn't try. I hope we get back to being able to just enjoy the game as a community again. That would feel really nice. Maybe we will, and maybe we won't. But I hope that at the very least, we try. So thank you so much for listening. And as always, please have a great day.
All right, so there it is. So I'm going to give a breakdown, the good, the bad, and the ugly in regards to this video from Mactix here, which was what killed Destiny for me and how I learned to love it again. So the good is that, ultimately he's just trying to have people that play Destiny be in a community or be in a sort of mood where we're like positive and enthusiastic about the things that are new, right? Like there are a bunch of things to be excited for with the Edge of Fate. I've highlighted them many times. We got some incredible quality of life changes. Obviously, a new raid is always pretty cool. We have new narrative, which looks like it's about to be freaking epic. The new narrative looks like it's about to deliver in a massive way. And new planetary destination, which, has received some skepticism due to, it being pretty different with no lost sectors and things like that. But, it's still something new, right? So what he's trying to say is focusing on the positives and kind of putting the negatives behind us, so that way when we do interact with this game and when people, outsiders and new people come into this community or interact with it, they're not just met with this like innate level of negativity, right? So that's the good that I think that he's delivering with this video. And I don't hate that part of it, but the bad of it is I think that some of this comes from him projecting his personal experiences and not necessarily what everyone's experiences are, right? Like his experience was that he was jaded from all of this poor delivery from Bungie, all of the crazy decisions they've made. And so from that, he just became on one extreme so overtly negative and was always just, spewing hate for the game and always looking for the next thing that he was going to hate in the next season. And like I said, I think that's projecting because I don't think that everyone is necessarily there. I think that a lot of people are able to discern for themselves, the quality of a content, the quality of expansion of any given thing, right? A new planetary destination, a new subclass, whatever it is. And their discernment will be for themselves as well, because something that excites you may not necessarily excite me, right? Like you might have been excited for the Leviathan to return in Season of Haunted, but I personally thought it was, like Mactic said here, I thought it was kind of weird that, we just sunset this not too long ago. Now we're bringing it back. And so I think that's the bad part about this. And the ugly part about this video, the last bit, is that I think that we're turning the whole framework of this into it's not Bungie, it's you guys, right? And this framework I strongly disagree with. I've heard this from other content creators and other individuals out there in the Destiny universe. And I really think you're not going to win anyone over. Like he mentioned before, he's like, I don't even know if this is going to catch the attention of anyone. Not him, but like there's a group of people that are like, the problem with Destiny 2 is not Bungie, it's you, right? That's the argument, right? It's not Bungie that's the problem. Bungie's fine, it's you. And I don't think that you're going to convince people of that. I think people are going to continue to be of the mindset, it's not me that's the problem, it's Bungie that's the problem, right? Unless you can create some very convincing arguments with the new content, the new updates. And like I said, he did make a valid point. No one's played the Edge of Fate yet. No one's played it yet in its entirety. So to judge the whole thing without having played it is a bit silly. That is a very fair criticism and a very fair approach to it, right? But from the previews we've been given thus far and from what we know, there's a lot of negativity. And it's not a good idea to point at the community and be like, it's you guys. Bungie's fine. Bungie's, what they're doing is great. They're doing their jobs, they can't help it. But it's you guys. You need to fix your mindset. You need to fix it. You need to focus on the positives, right? I don't like that because what that also continues to do is allow Bungie to continue the patterns that they've been doing, which is just under delivery, under delivery, under delivery, right? And that's where this community sentiment builds up and gets so negative. And I think the reason why he makes a video like this, and Scarrow's also talked about stuff like this, and Scarrow's they're of a similar mindset, and I'm not trying to pin them together to throw shade at them or to, for anyone to be overtly negative to them. It's okay to have this opinion that Bactix has. It's okay to have the opinions that Scarrow has. But when you have the opinion that differs from the majority, you're going to receive an immense amount of backlash. The community is going to flame you. They're going to torch you. They're going to be like, you guys are the shills, right? They're going to be like, you guys are getting paid to play this game. You guys are getting flown out to Bungie, and you guys are getting all these special privileges and all these crazy giveaways, emblems, you're given all these special privileges. So of course you guys like Destiny 2. Of course you guys are going to say these things, right? And what they're speaking on in a more articulate manner is a conflict of interest, which is that if you are going to speak on criticism of Destiny 2 or the community or Bungie, when you're getting paid, when money's being put in your pocket, it is going to be perceived as a conflict of interest, even if it's not true, even if you're just paid like such a pitiful amount of money, or if the privileges that you're given are very small, it will still be perceived that way. And that's why the community is going to come after you extra hard, because they're going to be like, really? You want to tell me to not be critical of Bungie while you are accepting money from them? It's like, it's gonna make the negativity even more, like it's gonna flare up the anger even more from people. I can see it from a mile away because I've been involved in gaming for fucking so long. I feel like my whole life has been involved in gaming at this stage, right? And so I can see this coming from a mile away. So I don't like that. I think that's the ugly side of this, is trying to point the fingers at the community and say, you guys are just being negative. I think that comes from a position of projecting your experience, not necessarily the actual experiences of the majority of the Destiny 2 player base. So I think that for that reason, I don't agree with that sentiment from this video. But I do like the idea of, let's all try to just have some fun where we can have some fun, And I think that most people are doing that. We can say, hey, Edge of Fate, this sucked. This is terrible. This was trash, Bungie, on this particular thing, but also the raid was dope. So that was cool. We can navigate those waters together. We can be overtly critical, maybe even negative, maybe even toxic at times, while still enjoying other elements of the game. And I don't think that's necessarily a terrible thing. And if you do think it's a terrible thing, it's okay for you to think it's a terrible thing, but just know it's not going anywhere. No one's ever you're not going to stop it. You're not going to control people. You're not going to silence people. You're not going to censor people. People are always going to be that way, especially in this crazy new social media world we live in, where everyone has access to the ability to communicate with everything in an instant, right? You can instantly just tweet right now at Bungie, I hate this game or something, right? Like everyone has the ability. It's going to be there. It's always going to be there. So those are my opinions on this. Let me know what you think about it, though, down in the comment section below.